Hello everyone and welcome to the EL111 coursebook. In this video we're going to be going over the first part of Unit 1, which is Unit 1A. We start off pretty strong with this unit because we're going to be talking about big questions and some interesting theories. So without any further ado, let's get started with the first part. So here we have research and theories. I'd like you to pause the video for a second and take a look at some of these pictures here and excuse me, sit for a second and think about what these are. So each time I tell you to pause the video, once you come back, I'll be assuming that you've done what I said. So I'll be talking now as if you've seen the pictures and you have a pretty good, or at least a rough idea of what is going on here. So this looks like some sort of satellite that is in outer space. This is a man that looks pretty confused, perhaps doesn't know where he's going or can't make a decision. This is a person that is either sick or sleeping, perhaps in deep sleep. And this definitely has something to do with aliens because of the UFO. All right. So think of some examples of big questions. Why do we ask these questions? Have we found the answers to all the big questions? Give some examples. Right, so again, I'd like you to do this by yourself, but I'll also do it on my part. So think of some examples of big questions. I mean, there's no shortage of them. Is there such a thing as right or wrong? Why are we here? How was the Earth created? Is the universe really infinite? Do aliens exist? Why are we the only species that have emotions? All of these are questions, or rather deep emotions, because some animals do have emotions as well. So these are all examples of big questions. Have we found the answers to all the big questions? Not even close. We've answered a lot, but again, there's a lot of questions out there that simply have no answer as of the time of recording of this video. So yeah, now let's go to number 2. Here we have a reading passage. So read the text and compare your answers to number 1. Again, I'd like you to pause the video here and read the text once or twice. The first time, I'd like you to just skim through it quickly to get a general idea of what the text is about exactly, and then read it again in more detail, right? So after you come back, I'll go through with the video as if you've read the text. I've already read the text, so we can proceed to the next part. Now let's go to number 3. Match the questions from A to D with the photos 1 to 4. What is the link between each photo and question? Let's take a look together. Let me reset this. Okay, so we have a few questions. How old is the universe? Why do we dream? Have aliens visited Earth? And do we have free will? Let's take a look at each picture one by one. We have the first picture, which looks like a satellite in outer space, but we don't really have outer space here. So my only assumption would be something to do with the universe, perhaps. And I'll tell you why I haven't chosen aliens, because aliens are down here because of the UFO, which is painfully obvious. So I'm going to put how old is the universe in number 1. And then this man that we saw earlier that was conflicted and perhaps didn't know how to make a decision. If we read the questions, we have here one that says, do we have free will? Making your own decisions is free will. So we'll put that here. Having the freedom to choose whatever you want. That is basically free will in a nutshell. And at first I thought this person was sick, but the only one I have here is why do we dream? So I'm guessing he's in deep sleep and perhaps dreaming as well. So why do we dream? And finally, 4, have aliens visited Earth? It's a big question, and I don't think so. Not yet, at least. So let's check answers. We got all of them. Okay. Now let's go to the next page. Here we have question number 4. Listen to 4 people talk about the questions in 3. So the questions that we just saw, we're going to be now listening to 4 people talk about them. Are the statements, oops, let me reset this. Are the statements true or false? Correct any false statements. Okay, so what I want us to do is we're going to be listening together and we're going to be checking if these statements are true or false. And if they are false, we're going to correct them together. Okay, so let's get started.
1. Scientists estimate that about 25% of the time we're asleep is spent dreaming. But why do we dream? Some experiments suggest that dreams help our brain to organize information. Each day your brain collects a lot of new information. This could be something very simple, like the color of a car you saw, or something more complicated, such as an exam you prepared for. Your brain decides which information to forget and delete, and which to keep stored in the memory. Research shows that dreams play an important part in this process. 2.
Edwin Hubble, an American astronomer, created a new instrument, the Hubble telescope, which is powerful enough to measure light from 10 to 15 light years away. Hubble's observations have provided evidence that supports the Big Bang theory. According to the Big Bang theory, the universe was smaller, denser, and hotter than anything we can imagine. Then, suddenly, it exploded. In less than a second, the universe went from being smaller than an atom to being bigger than a galaxy. Astronomers estimate that this happened approximately 14 billion years ago. It is important to note, however, that a significant number of scientists believe that the Big Bang theory does not explain how all the matter in the universe came from nothing. It seems that more research is required before we can be sure.
3.
There's a website I read where they talk about all the strange things in the sky that people see. You know, UFOs, that's unidentified flying objects. Every year, hundreds of people see things in the sky, like bright lights, and nobody knows what they are. But I think they are alien spaceships. And it's all top secret. The government knows that there are aliens out there, but they don't tell us because they don't want people to be frightened. But I'm not scared, actually. They probably are very friendly.
4. When we make a decision, do we really make the decision? Do we have a choice? Let me explain. When you put a shirt on in the morning, how do you decide which shirt? Let's say you chose the cleanest one. Why? Because you have a tutorial today, and society tells us to wear clean shirts, not dirty shirts for tutorials. So we don't make a decision. It was already made. We just don't know it.
All right, so now that we've listened to the people talking about the questions, let's start with number 1. We dream to help us remember everything that happened during the day. You guys remember? This was actually false. And to correct that statement, I'm going to say we dream to help us organize our thoughts that happened throughout the day. Okay? B. Hubble's observations suggest that the universe is over 10 billion years old. That is true. That is a true observation based on the audio. The speaker doesn't think aliens exist. If you guys remember, the speaker does think aliens do exist, but that the government is keeping it a secret. So we'll say the speaker does believe aliens exist. So this will be false as well. And D, the speaker thinks we have free will. This is false. The speaker actually thinks we do not have free will. So this will be, again, false. Okay? There you go. Okay? So now let's go to syllable stress. Let me open this. So what we're going to be doing is I'll play an audio file again, and I would like you to pause the video if you have to and underline the stressed syllable in each adjective. So here we have some adjectives that you're going to be listening to, and I would like you to highlight the stressed syllable. Okay? All right, here we go.
Complicated. Significant. Powerful. Unidentified. Important.
Okay, I'll play that one more time, and then we'll go over them together.
Complicated. Significant. Powerful. Unidentified. Important.
Okay, so let's take the first adjective, complicated. So me saying it right away, and as the speaker said it as well, you'll notice that the stressed syllable is on that PLI in the middle. So complicated. So the stress is on the middle of the word. Significant. Again, that NI is the stressed syllable. So significant. Powerful. I think that one is pretty obvious. That POW, pow, powerful. Okay, so the stress will be right here. Unidentified, unidentified. Then will be the stressed syllable. Important, important. POR is the stressed, it's again in the middle. This is the stressed syllable. Okay, now let's go to exercise 5. Match the words here. Oh, here we have some matching. Let's take a look. Let me reset this. So here we have a few words, and we have some definitions for each word, but they're jumbled. So we're going to have to see which word goes with the correct definition. So let's start with A, which is estimate. Estimate is to calculate an approximate number or amount. 2, we have evidence. Evidence is, these are facts or information that show something is true. C, we have experiment. Experiment, oh, it's actually right here. A scientific method of discovering or testing something. And then we have explain. Explain is, oh, right here. To give a reason why something happens or exists. You're explaining yourself or explaining why something happens. E is instrument. Instrument is where I'd say a tool. Yes, a tool that we use to test or measure something. And then F, measure. Speaking of measure, is, oh, it's right here. Define the size, weight, or quantity of something. And then G, observation. Observation comes from the word observe, which is, it's the process of noticing or watching something happen. So if you're watching perhaps your children playing football, that is you observing them. H, research. Research is to investigate and study a subject. And finally, I, theory, is a system of ideas that provides an explanation for something. So these were the correct definitions for each word. I suggest you pause the video and write them down. It'll help you memorize them better. And it helps with your vocab so that if you didn't know any of these words before, you do now, and you can use them in your own spoken or written English as well. Okay, so let's check our answers. Here you go. All right, awesome. Now let's go to number 6. Here we have, let me reset this. Complete the list of verbs and nouns using words from exercise 5. So here we have some nouns. They're missing a bit. And we have some verbs as well. And if we have a noun, we want to change it to a verb and vice versa. So for the word explanation, it'll be explain. For estimation, I hope you guys were able to figure this one out. It'll be estimate. That is correct. And then observe, now it's the opposite. We want to change it to a noun, so that'll be observation. And research. How would you guys change this? This one's a little bit tricky, but we would change it to researcher. Okay? E is missing as a verb, but we do have measurement, so we'll say measure. And finally, F is theorize as a verb, and that'll, as a noun, it'll be theory. Okay? So one more time: explain, explanation; estimate, estimation; observe, observation; research, researcher; measure, measurement; theorize, and theory. Okay? Let's check our answers together. And there you go. All right. Now let's go to the next exercise. Let's see this. Exercise 7. Choose the correct words from 5 and 6 to complete the sentences. Okay, so we need to get the words from 5 and 6, which is these. So since we already know most of the nouns, I'll just take the verbs right here. So I'm going to do something like this. So that makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to open a notepad. Actually, not a notepad. I'll do a paint file. And then I'll put this here. All right. Now let's open exercise 7, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over each sentence one by one, and we're going to be choosing the correct word from this list right here into our little bracket, whether as a noun or as a verb. So let's start with A. He gave a very clear dash about the way radiation works. What do you guys think? If I had to guess, I would say this is explain, but we can't use it as a verb, so it'll be as a noun. So explanation. Okay. B. Scientists dash that the Earth gets 50,000 tons lighter every year. There's a big number. So scientists, well, they can't really get an exact number because it's the sun. So I would say an estimate. So scientists estimate that the Earth gets 50,000 tons lighter every year. C. The increase in the number of storms is strong dash of climate change. At first, you would think that you can probably put something like because, but this is not true. First of all, it's not in the words here, and it doesn't make sense. So it'll be, remember when we said evidence? I think that is enough evidence for climate change. So the increase in the number of storms is strong evidence of climate change. D. The dash done by scientists suggests that there probably is life on other planets. What do scientists normally do to come to these conclusions? That would be research. So the research done by scientists suggests that there probably is life on other planets. E. Doctors dash the effects of new drugs to see if they are effective. Remember, we can't do research twice. So they simply look at the effects. So we'll say observe. Observe the effects of new drugs to see if they are effective. Right here, I took the word observation and I changed it to observe from a noun to a verb. F. Newton developed dash of gravity by observing natural phenomena. Well, he didn't invent gravity, that's for sure, but he did invent the theory of gravity by observing natural phenomena. Okay? Or rather developed. G, we use a barometer to dash air pressure. Like any other instrument, we measure, not measurement, just measure. So we use a barometer to measure air pressure. Okay? Let me just make this bigger and then check our answers. Here you guys go. So explanation, estimate, evidence, research, observe, theory, and measure. Okay? Now let's go to number 8. Listen to the people talk about the big questions in 4 again. So we're going to be listening to the same audio that we listened to earlier. But what we're going to be doing is we'll answer the questions below by completing a table. So tick the correct speaker and what they do. So has speaker 1 given an objective answer? Is it supported by evidence? And does the speaker give a clear and logical explanation? And then we'll ask these 3 questions for each separate speaker, okay? And then we'll just tick each one. So again, I'll play this first and then we'll solve them together. Here we go.
1.
Scientists estimate that about 25% of the time we're asleep is spent dreaming. But why do we dream? Some experiments suggest that dreams help our brain to organize information. Each day your brain collects a lot of new information. This could be something very simple, like the color of a car you saw, or something more complicated, such as an exam you prepared for. Your brain decides which information to forget and delete, and which to keep stored in the memory. Research shows that dreams play an important part in this process.
2.
Edwin Hubble, an American astronomer, created a new instrument, the Hubble telescope, which is powerful enough to measure light from 10 to 15 light years away. Hubble's observations have provided evidence that supports the Big Bang theory. According to the Big Bang theory, the universe was smaller, denser, and hotter than anything we can imagine. Then, suddenly, it exploded. In less than a second, the universe went from being smaller than an atom to being bigger than a galaxy. Astronomers estimate that this happened approximately 14 billion years ago. It is important to note, however, that a significant number of scientists believe that the Big Bang theory does not explain how all the matter in the universe came from nothing. It seems that more research is required before we can be sure.
3.
There's a website I read where they talk about all the strange things in the sky that people see. You know, UFOs, that's unidentified flying objects. Every year, hundreds of people see things in the sky, like bright lights, and nobody knows what they are. But I think they are alien spaceships. And it's all top secret. The government knows that there are aliens out there, but they don't tell us because they don't want people to be frightened. But I'm not scared, actually. They probably are very friendly.
4. When we make a decision, do we really make the decision? Do we have a choice? Let me explain. When you put a shirt on in the morning, how do you decide which shirt? Let's say you chose the cleanest one. Why? because you have a tutorial today and society tells us to wear clean shirts, not dirty shirts for tutorials. So we don't make a decision. It was already made. We just don't know it.
All right, so that was the audio. We've listened to the 4 different speakers. I'd like to just play it again to just remember what the first speaker was talking
1.
about.
Scientists estimate that about 25% of the time we're asleep is spent dreaming.
Okay, so this was about the dreaming. I had the 2 conflicted, the one about the Big Bang Theory and the one about dreams. So for speaker 1, I hope you guys were at least able to get some of these. Which speakers give an objective answer? I would say that speaker 1 definitely gave an objective answer. It wasn't really supported by evidence, but it was clear and logical. So I'll say it's clear and logical and objective. Speaker 2 about the Big Bang Theory, again, clear and logical explanation and definitely has an objective. However, it lacks enough evidence. I mean, it was very prominent even when the speaker said that some researchers or scientists were confused as to how all the matter came about from nothing. You can't have something from nothing, basically. So, not enough evidence. Speaker number 3, it was the girl that was talking about aliens and she thought they were real. I personally didn't think there was an objective and definitely no evidence. It's just her speculation. And to be completely honest, it wasn't even clear and logical, so I'll leave this blank. And for speaker 4, again, it was objective, which is, do we have free will or not? Again, no evidence because it is speculation. We don't have enough evidence or nearly enough evidence as if we have free will or not. And it was, however, clear and logical. I will give him that. So this is the conclusion. We have 3 objective speakers and 3 clear and logical speakers. No evidence in all 4 speakers. And speaker number 3 had nothing going for her, basically. So let's check our answers. Here you go. And yeah. All right, let's go to the final exercise for this part of our unit. How many ways can you think of to prove that the Earth is round? That's a pretty good question. Explain your proof using evidence and a logical argument. There's a clue on page 12. So I'd like to think there's a lot of ways to prove that the Earth is round if I was asked a question like this. And I would like you to sit with yourself for a second before hearing my opinion and my, I guess, argument. Is pause the video and talk about it with a friend, or even talk to yourself as if you're talking to a friend, like what I'm about to do now. I think the easiest way to prove that is to highlight the fact that we as humans have already been to space multiple times, and this by itself is enough evidence to tell us that the Earth is round. I mean, eyes can deceive us sometimes, but not to the point where you'll see a planet not look like what you think. So we've gone to space and we know that the Earth is round. One more thing. It says there's a clue on page 12. If we go to page 12, remember when we talked about the satellite here? We have a lot of satellites in space from different countries. And have any of you wondered how our GPS works? Well, a GPS gets its signal from satellites in space, and that is how it is accurately able to track you and show you the roads and basically have a constant image of the Earth. This is because a satellite is able to see the Earth, thus proving that it is round. So again, this is a really good clue. What else? Oh, sorry about that, right here. Some people might give a counter argument for the sake of arguing, and that is, it's a pretty funny one to me, which is, you know, if the Earth is round, why don't we just fall off it? if it's round, will just fall into space. And there's a very simple solution, or not solution, answer for this, and that is there's this wonderful thing that we discovered that is called gravity that's always been there, and that is what's able to basically stick us to this giant rock that we're on. That is why your car doesn't just float into space. And that is why when you eventually get high enough into space, gravity doesn't affect you anymore, and then you just float. So that's my evidence and logical argument in a nutshell, if you will. I hope you had similar points, and I really hope you're not a flat earther. So this was Unit 1. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you had a good time, and I will see you in the next part. Goodbye, everyone.